In an office in the United States, all the desks, chairs, and computers are covered in huge cocoons. In the middle of this mess, a guy is also trapped in one of the cocoons until a giant insect starts injecting poison into his face. A few days before this incident, a telemarketer called Cooper is late for work again. As well as being lectured by his father over the phone, his colleagues don't respect him, and he's called into the management office for allegations of poor customer service. His boss, Moran, is about to fire him, but at the same moment, they both hear a loud noise and fall unconscious. Days later, it's revealed that Cooper was the guy trapped in the cocoon, and he wakes up after a giant insect injects him with a dose of poison. Not understanding what is happening, he tries to run away, but the beetle-like creature attacks him. With a lot of effort, Cooper pushes the creature to a table and uses the paper guillotine to remove one of its legs. The giant beetle escapes, and Cooper sets off in search of his colleagues who are trapped inside the cocoons. He soon finds Moran and sees from the calendar on her watch that the two of them have been trapped in the office for several days. When she hears this, Moran remembers that her daughter Sarah was waiting for her in the car to take her home. Desperate, the director runs after her and finds her inside the car trapped in a cocoon. Cooper rushes to Sarah's aid, but as soon as she wakes up, the young woman is startled and shoots pepper spray at the man. He tries to explain that he came to help her at her mother's request, but at the same moment, Moran is captured by a flying beetle and taken away. Then other insects begin to surround the place, and since they can't see, they try to locate their prey by sound. Realizing this, Sarah sets off the car alarm to divert the insect's attention and runs with Cooper towards a diner. There, while Cooper is trying to clean his face, Sarah sees the cook on the floor and tries to wake him up. However, he suddenly starts attacking the young woman, and Cooper sets out to defend her. But the guy manages to knock him down with just one punch. He tries to get up until another insect appears and advances towards him. Seeing that the creature is the real enemy, the cook lets go of Sarah and smashes the insect with the cash register. After this confrontation, Sarah frees the rest of the victims and explains to everyone about the insects, which are attacking and trapping people in cocoons. After hearing everything, two of the customers decide to leave town with their truck. But Sarah warns them that it's dangerous to leave now. Nevertheless, they set off down the road, and just as Sarah had feared, a huge wasp swoops down on the truck and attacks the driver. His colleague tries to escape but ends up falling on the road and breaking his leg. The driver tries to tackle the wasp, but it manages to pull him out of the cab and flies him into the sky. Nearby, a policeman sees everything and tries to save the truck driver by shooting the giant insect with his pistol. The problem is that when it is hit, the creature knocks the guy over, and he falls to the ground. To make matters worse, the truck spins out of control on the road and ends up crushing the other truck driver, who couldn't avoid it because of his broken leg. After that, the vehicle starts coming towards the diner and narrowly misses crushing Cooper and the rest of the group. Even so, more insects appear on the scene, and because of the noise of the shots, they grab the policeman and start devouring him. The cook called Hugo tries to help him, but his father, Albert, ends up being stung by the wasp in the back and is seriously injured. The group is then forced to flee the diner and head for another building before more insects appear. As they catch their breath, Sarah asks to see Albert's wound, which is worse than she imagined. However, the old man says he's feeling fine and suggests the group go up to the roof of the building to see what the situation is like outside. When they get there, they see the city full of people trapped in cocoons, and on the horizon, a heavy reddish smoke. Without understanding where the insects came from, the group has to decide what to do, and Cooper suggests going to his father's underground shelter. However, the place is far from there, and Lucci suggests learning more about the creatures so they can defend themselves on the way. She then sets a trap by turning on a stereo at maximum volume inside the building's storeroom. The plan works, and one of the beetles is attracted by the sound, with the group locking it inside the room. After that, Lai and Hugo go to the pharmacy to get lab materials while Sarah has to collect a dose of poison from the insect. With Cooper's help, the doctor opens the door, and as soon as the beetle tries to attack them, Albert uses a bucket to extract the poison and traps the creature back in the room. Later, Lee finishes examining the sample and finds sedatives inside the poison. It seems that the insects leave their prey unconscious in order to carry out some kind of experiment, but she has no idea of the creature's real intentions. Now all they have to do is spend the night in the building and wait for daybreak to make their way to the shelter. The group then organizes places to sleep and splits up to keep watch for the next few hours. After tidying up the room for the night, Cooper goes to look for food in the kitchen, only to find spoiled cereals full of insects. What's more, he's startled when Cindy suddenly appears, saying that she's nervous about the whole situation. He tries to calm her down, and Cindy suggests going to the newspaper where she works to contact the army via satellite radio. Cooper approves of the idea and wants to call the rest of the group, but Cindy tells them both to go, showing that she is more interested in him. She even tries to kiss him, but Cooper refuses because he ended up liking Sarah, even though she attacked him with pepper spray. The rest of the night goes quietly, but the next morning the insect trapped in the room starts to make a lot of noise, attracting other insects to the building. Because of this, Albert is forced to open the door and eliminate the creature by hitting it on the head with a broken broomstick. Before other insects show up, the group rushes to the shelter, but Lucci decides to stay to help other people trapped in cocoons. Then the rest of the group leaves the building, but first Albert decides to stop by his apartment to check on his wife. Unfortunately, when they got there, he and his son found her lifeless due to a serious illness. Faced with this loss, Albert takes his shotgun, and even though Cooper warns him that any shot could attract insects, he doesn't care and takes the gun for safekeeping. After leaving the apartment, the group makes another stop, this time to go to Cindy's brother Chad's house. There she finds her sister-in-law. Susan is trapped in a cocoon, but there is no sign of her brother anywhere. Then from inside the garage, Chad appears, having been transformed into a hybrid of human and insect. The creature advances towards the group and hits Susan with one of its stingers, which is eliminated on the spot. The monster then throws Sarah and Albert away while capturing Cindy and showing her its fangs. Luckily, Cooper picks up a hoe and hits the hybrid on the head, but it strikes back with one of its stingers against his leg. Hugo quickly helps his friend and eliminates the creature by hitting it with a garden pitchfork. After this confrontation, everyone takes refuge inside the house while Albert and Hugo keep an eye on the place. Sarah treats Cooper's wound, who takes the opportunity to get to know her better. The young woman says that her dream was to ride motorcycles, but that her mother demanded that she pursue a career as a psychologist. Cooper says he went through something similar because his father, a retired military man called Ethan, always put pressure on him to pursue a successful career. Finally, before Sarah finishes the bandage, Cooper regrets what happened to Maren and confesses that he also lost his mother recently. The two continue their conversation at the same time as Albert goes to the bathroom and starts to feel sick because of the wasp's sting. In order not to scare the others, he keeps this information a secret and continues to watch the house. In the middle of the night, Cindy goes to talk to Cooper, saying she's very sad about the loss of her brother and that she needs someone to comfort her. She then tries to win him over once again, but Cooper refuses because he's in love with Sarah. Cindy doesn't accept the rejection, and to fight back, she tightens the bandage on Cooper's leg and leaves. Another day passes, and the group continues along the road with Albert, deducing that the red smoke is where the insect's nest is. Upon hearing this, Sarah decides to go there, as she believes that her mother was taken there and may still be alive. Cooper is against the idea, but Sarah is determined to take the risk. Suddenly, more insects fly over, and the group runs to hide under a highway. Because of his injured leg, Sarah takes Cooper's hand and helps him hide in one of the cars. At the same moment, Cindy sees that the two of them are holding hands. And realizing why she was rejected, she decides to put an end to it and starts screaming at the insects. Sarah and Cooper ask her to keep quiet, otherwise they'll all be wiped out by the insects. Cindy doesn't care anymore and continues screaming, forcing Albert to shoot her to put an end to the noise. What the man didn't count on was that the sound of the shot would attract the monsters, who soon surround the highway and set out to attack the group. Albert shoots at the insects that cross his path, but a wasp, it grabs him from behind and tries to take him to its nest. Cooper then picks up the shotgun and fires at the insect, with Hugo catching his father before he hits the ground. Shortly afterwards, another insect sets out to attack Cooper, who tries to aim the shotgun, but it's out of bullets. The creature then knocks him to the ground and is about to finish him off, but Sarah tries to save him by advancing towards the monster. To her misfortune, the wasp grabs her, and even though Cooper tries to hold on, the Furna, the insect, throws him towards one of the vehicles and takes Sarah to the nest. Even knowing the risks, Cooper is determined to save her. But first, he needs to find his father's house. Once there, he discovers that Ethan is still alive. But he pays no attention to his son and is more concerned about his dog, who disappeared the night before. Cooper tells his father to leave it until later and asks him to help him make a meal for his groupmates. During dinner, Ethan shows everyone a map of the region, showing a route to another town where they can be safe inside a military base. However, Cooper says that he needs to go to the insect's nest to save his friend Sarah. His father is against the idea and the two start arguing, while Albert feels sick again and sees that one of his teeth has just fallen out. Just like Chad, the old man begins to transform and several insect legs emerge from his body. Albert has become a hybrid, and with no control over his actions, he presses Cooper against the wall using his legs. Ethan tries to shoot him to save his son, but Hugo takes the gun from his hand, and with no other choice, he shoots his father. The sound of the shots attracts another giant insect, and Ethan grabs the gun, but Cooper warns them that they can't use guns, or more of them will appear. Instead, Ethan takes a taser from the drawer and shoots the insect, which explodes thanks to the high voltage. Finally, the three of them run toward the shelter when they come across Ethan's dog, who has also been turned into a hybrid. The old man refuses to shoot her, but more insects begin to surround the house. So Ethan takes Hugo and Cooper into the shelter. The three spend the night there, and the next day find the house free of insects. Ethan insists that they run away to the military base, but Cooper refuses to leave Sarah behind. Father and son argue once again, and seeing that he won't be able to convince him, Cooper decides to go alone to the insect's nest and asks Hugo to accompany his father to the base. After a long walk, Cooper takes a break to take a leak in an apparently abandoned place. However, a guy holds a gun to his head and tells him to follow him to a police station. There, he is left trapped in a cell by the guy who leaves the police station with a young woman to look for her father. Meanwhile, Cooper meets another prisoner who claims to have split from a group led by Lee. She managed to free several people, including a biologist who was helping her find a way to get rid of the monsters. However, the place where they were was surrounded by the insects and was set on fire due to the flammable gases that the monsters emitted from their bodies. The old man managed to escape but ended up being captured by the trio and has been held prisoner because they suspect he will become a hybrid. After hearing everything, Cooper thinks of a way to get out of there and save Sarah, who has just woken up among several bodies trapped in the cocoons. She quickly searches for her mother without success, but finds a knife in one of the bodies and arms herself with it. Back at the police station, the trio of snipers take two more prisoners, none other than Ethan and Hugo. Cooper asks for them to be released and warns them that the infected have a wound on their back caused by the wasp sting. The leader of the trio decides to check if this is true and begins by inspecting Ethan, who, to Cooper's surprise, has also been infected. The young woman tries to finish off the prisoner, but Ethan manages to break free easily, and he threatens to eliminate the girl if they don't free his son from the cell. Fearing for the girl's life, the leader throws the cell key in Cooper's direction. But before he can catch it, the young woman attacks Ethan and knocks him to the ground. She then aims her gun at the ex-military man. But as the trio suspected, the other prisoner was indeed infected and turned into a hybrid. With its sharp paws, it strikes the girl's neck and eliminates her. Her father despairs and shoots the creature. But Ethan takes advantage of their distraction, picks up the gun on the ground, and shoots the girl's father and his accomplice. Finally, he frees Cooper and decides to go with his son to the nest because he knows that very soon he will turn into a monster. Before they go, they take weapons and equipment they find at the police station, including 3 bicycles, because the sound of the cars could attract the insects. After the long journey, they find the creature's nest, a cavernous structure that emits red smoke. Ethan then sets up an invasion plan where the 3 of them must rescue Sarah and install a bomb to destroy the insects once and for all. The trio must hurry because Sarah is still inside the nest and sees the insect queen. The gigantic creature is devouring the humans in the cocoon and expelling her eggs to create an army of giant insects. Sarah then tries to run away, but she comes across a hybrid boy who, on seeing her, starts shouting to lure the insects towards him. Outside the nest, Cooper is almost there, but Ethan starts to feel sick and leans on one of the trees. His son goes to help him, but the old man reveals that it was all a setup and handcuffs Cooper to the tree trunk. Soon afterwards, he knocks Hugo unconscious and says that he will face the insects alone. Cooper asks him not to go as he needs to save Sarah, but his father replies that the young woman is probably no longer alive, and he doesn't want to risk his son's life on this mission. So he heads for the nest, willing to sacrifice himself to eliminate all the monsters. However, minutes later, Hugo regains consciousness and helps Cooper free himself, with the 2 of them setting off towards the base of the insects. Ethan arrives first and uses night vision goggles to see in the dark. Unbeknownst to him, Cooper and Hugo have also just arrived at the nest and use flashlights to break in and rescue Sarah. Meanwhile, the young woman looks for the exit, and when she hears the sound of footsteps, she promptly grabs her knife and uses it to attack. However, she ends up hitting Ethan in the arm, who reveals that he is Cooper's father and says that he has come to destroy the nest. She apologizes for attacking him and says she knows where the insect queen is. The 2 of them head there to install the bomb, while Ethan and Hugo break into the nest and end up among the queen's eggs. The 2 try to get out of there until they hear the sound of gunfire coming from the other side of the wall. They recognize the voice of Ethan, who has found the queen and is trying to confront her. However, she proves stronger and attacks the old man, throwing him into the wall. The situation only gets worse when Ethan ends up dropping the bomb on the floor. And even though Sarah tries to take it back, the insect queen corners them both and prepares to devour them. This seems to be the end. But then Cooper appears armed with Albert's shotgun and shoots the creature. However, the queen lets out a powerful scream, which leaves everyone bewildered and begins to attract the insects toward the nest. Fortunately, as Hugo has hearing problems, he isn't affected by the noise and throws the bomb straight into the queen's mouth. With that, they can detonate the explosive and end the threat once and for all. But Ethan realizes that his tooth has fallen out, just as it did with Albert before he transformed. With no time to lose, he shows Cooper the way out and tells everyone to leave while he stays to activate the bomb. However, he ends up becoming a hybrid and drops the detonator on the ground. Cooper then goes back to pick it up and moves away so that he can explode the bomb. The problem is that his father hadn't put in the batteries and the detonator doesn't work. He then picks up the batteries to put them back, but the insect queen goes after him, angrier than ever. Cooper runs desperately through the nest until he sees the exit, with Sarah calling him to come before it's too late. Soon after, the queen appears and tries to stop him from escaping, but Cooper manages to put the batteries in and sets off the detonator. Thanks to this, the bomb explodes, destroying the queen in 1,000 pieces. But the fire begins to spread because of the smoke emitted by the insects. Cooper can't run, so Sarah and Hugo help him up, and at the last second, they escape from the nest before being hit by the explosion. Later, Cooper wakes up in a hospital bed, where he finds Sarah and Hugo safe and sound. The three realize that the whole town is silent, indicating that the insects are gone forever. With the city safe, the three set off to help the rest of the survivors who are trapped in the cocoons, until Hugo notices something strange in the distance. Cooper and Sarah take a look and are startled to realize that there is another insect nest nearby. To prevent another infestation, they must rush to destroy the insects, but whether or not they succeed remains a mystery.